All right, so let's see here. All right, is there anyone still there? I pushed the wrong button and closed out the webinar. So if you're still there, we were going to do the question and answer and the other stuff. That was entirely my fault. So let's see. All right, well, I think right now it's just Christy, David, and I that are on here. Oh, that was terrible. I'll call David and tell to go live. Why did it tell to go live? It said I was live, and now it says it's not. So I don't know what happened. Why did it suddenly stop? It says it stopped. It failed to go live. So am I? Okay. All right. I'll try to do it then. See if it works. Thanks.
No, you're talking to me live right now. Sherry's back.
Okay, good deal. I'll see what happens. Email people and let them know that I just pushed the wrong button and closed it all out. So, all right, thanks. Bye. Hey there. If you refresh it, I've started it again. So I'm on live now. Yep. Well, we've got a couple of people here, so I'm going to keep going here and see what I can do for it. All right. Okay, so you are on. I was cut off too. You're here. Okay. Oh, why am I typing that? Can you see and hear me? If you can, say yes. And then I'll keep going. We didn't get to the Q&A, all that stuff. That was, okay, good. You can hear me again. Whoa, sorry about that. We had a lot of people on there, and they all thought that the webinar was over. So I apologize for that. That was terrible. I had no idea how to get back on. I've never had that. I've never done that before. So glad that we got it back going again. So the replay now will be in two parts. This one and the other. Yeah, I think David's sending out an email to everybody for me. So hopefully people will come back in again. But at least you got to see the primary, everyone got to see the primary training video that I had prepared for this. So that was good. Okay, that is an example of what I do for my for the master course that I created. Kind of an example of the type of videos that I put in there. But I try to condense with my videos like that. I really try to condense them down so that the information flows quickly. It's not taking up your time with me trying to think through and wonder what to say. So I have. Are you hearing two different voices coming through? Is that what it is? Duplicate on sound. Let's see. This is me post publicly. Slide. Oh. Okay, there was something weird. Now do you hear? Now is it all right? Can you start the video back where it was? Start what video back? I think that was basically that was the end of the video. That's why I tried to just turn off the screen share and I hit the wrong button. So I stopped the broadcast instead. They shouldn't make them look so much alike. Okay, so now it's good. Now the voice, everything is good. Is that right? Super, super. There's about, between me asking you a question and me seeing you receiving it, there's almost a 30-second delay. So It's a little disjointed. That's kind of the nature of the Google Hangout platform that Webinar Jam uses. So, okay, so we had a lot of questions that were sent in and some paintings to critique as well. So we'll get to those here in just a moment. First, all right, so that course that I produced with my painting schedule, I had to really think through doing something like that because I knew it was going to take some time. I was thinking, 2 to 3 months tops, and to produce a course like that. And so I had to think, can I really take that much time off for that? But I had so many people asking for that type of a course. That's why I did that. It ended up taking me 6 months just to produce the videos. And then figuring out all the ins and outs of it was even more time. So I've spent a good portion of the last year focusing on that, creating the course, and then the other videos that I do as well. So that really cut into my painting schedule, and the galleries got behind. So I've got a lot of catch up to do with that. But I love the idea of, I'm not a technology person, but I love what technology can do today. Just what we did tonight. I had people from all over the world that were watching that. That's fantastic. Just to see also how it bypasses cultural differences. You can see that people everywhere around the world, no matter what kind of culture or country they come from, we all want the same kinds of things as far as beauty and excellence in painting and all of that. That's fantastic to see that, how that can really unify us as a world. That's eye-opening for me. So I love this. I love being able to teach this way, and I think it's very effective. I've taught workshops quite a bit over the last 30 years, and I like this format. I like the way that I can really hone in, get my thoughts collected, and hone in on how to teach a specific principle. And then you can watch it over and over again, rather than at a workshop that's live, where you see the artist, do something on a demonstration and think, what just happened there? But there's no way to rewind that. Well, this, you can rewind over and over again. So with that course, I've had over 250 people that have purchased that course since we released it last fall. And what I've noticed is that the people who really love what I do and want to learn from the things that I teach, they tend to want to buy everything that I do. And I'm not a marketer like that. I'm an artist. So I love to teach and I love to paint, but I don't want to spend my whole life worrying about the marketing side of it. So my son is working with me and Christy, and we've all been kind of brainstorming the videos that you see on YouTube and all of that. I wanted to figure out a way. So for instance, the rose video that I produced that you've probably seen, many of you own that, and you have the bonus video, those rose leaves. Well, when I first created that video, it took me 5 months to make that. It was ridiculous, but I had so many things to learn. I didn't know how to use Premiere Pro. I didn't know anything about getting it on the internet. There's so many little things. And so it took me all that time. I've gotten it faster, but it's still extremely time consuming. Like the video you just saw there today, that took me probably a week of putting it together, editing it, all of that. And that's not, and that's because I've gotten even faster. But when I take one of my paintings and I film the entire thing, I film the painting and I film the palette, and then I try to get that into the format that I use now, where you see every brush stroke, you see all of my color mixing, and I cut out all the miscellaneous stuff, cleaning my brushes, sneezing, whatever. That takes a long time. It's usually at least a couple of months of cutting and editing all that out. But I want it to be I think it's a highly beneficial way to learn. So that's why I'm doing that. So with that, like when I first released the master course, it was $97 to everybody on my email list. So that was because we were making sure everything worked well, that the format worked well. So with the people who purchased the course, I haven't gotten one negative review, not one negative comment. Everybody seems to have loved the course, and I am so grateful for that. So that worked well, and now we've had to raise the price in order to pay for all the stuff that we have to use to put it up there. It's now $297 for the course when people would just come to my website to purchase it. Same thing with those other videos. I started out the prices low in the beginning until we figured everything out. Now those are also going up. So it's what, $35 for the shorter, like the cottonwood video that I do. It's about an hour long. It's the whole painting. That's $35. For the larger ones, it's $75. Those are like around 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours in length. So in order to get it so that people didn't have to sit there and think that they have to purchase all these things every time I come out with something, and I don't have to worry so much about sending out an email, hey, I have a new product ready or whatever. I'm not interested in that sort of thing. We brainstormed and we came up with something that I think is going to work out great for people everywhere around the world to have access to those things at an extremely reasonable rate. So that's what I wanted to show you today real quick. I'm going to, before we get to the question and answer and the critiques, I'm just going to run through that real quick with you and let you know what's there. Just so you, because we're going to be offering it to you today for a really reduced price over what it's going to be here, actually what it is now, to just go to the website. So we just got this together. Let me, in fact, we just finalized all that this week. So I'm still not entirely familiar with all of it myself, but I'm going to run through it with you. I'm going to share my screen and then bring that up real quick. So let me find that first. Okay, there we go. Okay, present to everyone. There we go. So now I'll hopefully hit the right button the next time I do this. Okay, so this is the new site for everything. For some of you might actually own the Master Oil Painting course already, and might just be watching this webinar again because of the question and answer and painting critique part of it. But I've changed we're changing the site over where the master course was before. We're changing it over to here. Everything's going to be on this, masteroilpainting.com. And so if you go there, this is the page that you're going to see when you come up on there. This is where people can go who own the course to log into that. And then this is what we've just put together new. This is the Master Oil Painting monthly membership thing. And so I'm going to describe that to you here in just a second. So we also have on the same page your bonus video, so you always know where to go to find that. This is for those who are part of either the monthly or have the Master Oil Painting course. We have these. They're not monthly anymore, and that's because that video that you saw today, I'm going to be doing one of those at least 4 times a year. And then we're going to have a monthly, we're going to have a live webinar like we did today. I did for the first 8 months of the course, I did it monthly, that kind of a webinar. And they were great, very enjoyable. But I really wanted to get some more condensed teaching in the way that I did in the master course. So that's why, because of the time in that, I'm going to be doing them quarterly rather than every month. And then I can have a video like that prepared for those to start with. And that hopefully will spur a lot of the question and answer and help also to hone in on the critiques that we do. So this is where you can access those as well. This is just to take you to my website, and for people who just want to buy the videos individually rather than in a membership site type of thing. So this is what will happen if you go to the membership site. You'll see shorter videos and longer videos on there. And then we also have the private Facebook group, and we have a lot of people involved in that. That's where you can go and post your paintings, things that you're working on. You can get some feedback from people. The way that Christy does for me, I love that how involved everyone is with each other on that group. And it's become such a wonderful community, seeing how everyone really helps each other on there. So, but it's a private group just for people who are part of the monthly thing or that have purchased the master course. And then of course there are the live Q&As on there. So when we go to like the shorter videos, you'll see this is hammock stand. So right now, and that's part of the reason why you'll be getting this at such a reduced cost. Sorry about that, that was loud. Is that I have the 2 videos that are completely done right now, the cottonwood trees and then the rose video that I did before, and they'll be on here. And then I have when those are, it's going to be coming. So let's see, I need to log out of this. Let me log out so that, well, anyway, I'll just take you to the different ones so you can see. So these, I will be releasing at least 1 video every month that's full length, like this cottonwood tree video that I did. Many of these, the ones that you'll see with the full length ones, they're ones that I had on YouTube in the fast motion. Well, I've got them edited, many of them edited, and they're just waiting for the voiceover, and I'll be doing that. So this one will be coming the end of this month onto here, and then each month I will release one of these onto here, one of the shorter videos, at least once a month on there. So you can see so far, this is where we've gotten so far with what will be coming up on there. And then on the longer videos, we have the rose video on here, and then you'll see this, the river one will be coming out soon. October 28th, that's a little bit, it might be the first week of November, somewhere around in there, because it is very time consuming for me to do the voiceover, but that's what I'm shooting for, is the end of this month. So be patient if it's not right on that date, but it will be close to that. And then December 30th, this isn't 3 months after this one, but I wanted to have, so we have 2 videos in December because it's Christmas time and I love Christmas. So I'm gonna work extra hard and try to have that all done for you so that you'll get the 2 videos in December rather than this one coming in January, at the end of January. That's why this is a little bit early. And so that's going to then we'll have this one coming March 31st. This one coming, the painting that you just saw in earlier, this one will be coming in June. And then I have quite a few after that. So I have to have at least 3 months in between for the big videos because they take so much time to edit. There's no way that I have right now of speeding up that process. And fortunately, my family is helping a lot with the editing of those. Otherwise, I'd never be able to do that. It's because of them that I'm able to keep up at all. So otherwise, my galleries would never get any paintings, and that just would not work. I have to keep painting as well as teaching. Otherwise, I'm not going to be any good for you either. It's me continuing to paint is what gives me material for you to learn from. So anyway, that's going to be the new monthly membership that we're putting out there. So I think David has something set up on here. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, so let me, I did not go through. So when you do this, if you try to join, you just click to join, it will take you to this page right here. You see, yes, give me access. This is where the schedule, you'll see all the schedule of the different videos on here and when they're coming out. And we're still tightening up some of the things for the website here, but you'll see that it's $30 a month generally. And the reason I'm doing that is because even at $30 a month, that's going to save more than 50% a year if over someone purchasing those videos individually. So it's really, to me, that was the best way to make sure that people could keep watching all the things that I'm producing without having to purchase everything individually like that. Okay, so All right, so for everyone today, many of you have been on my email list for several years, and I just don't email very often. I don't do a lot because I've mainly concentrated. You know what, I'm going to stop screen sharing here. Actually, no, let me show you real quick this thing. So if you push on this, it'll take you to this checkout page right here, and you can use either credit card over here, or you can go to use PayPal right here if you prefer to use PayPal. And then there's a coupon area down here, and David, I think, has a coupon that I'm going to be pulling up here on the webinar here shortly. If you put that coupon down into here, you're going to be getting it at half of the normal monthly price for $15 a month, and that'll be for the lifetime of however long you want to keep being on there. You'll have it at $15 a month. That price is not going to go up for you at all. It's not like one of those, you can have it for 6 months or a year. No, that's forever. Because many of you have been on my email list forever and for 4 or 5 years. And most of my time has gone into, besides painting, putting videos on YouTube. Until I did that master course, I just couldn't find the time to do much. And so I was hoping that was helping plenty. And I really didn't know much about what I was doing with email lists and all that stuff. But because of that, I wanted to do something to pay you back for being so patient and being there for so long. So let me see where that's at, if I can bring that up for you, and then I'll get to the critiques and all of that stuff. Okay, it says first 50. I think he has that set so at least 50 of you right away can get that. Let's see. Open a new tab. Display offer. I think it's just ready to display. Sorry, that's the tech part of it for me. Okay. So now I'm going to stop screen sharing. Oh, they have both of them right there. Stop presenting and stop screen sharing. I was hoping I wasn't going to turn it off again. Okay. So now I'm going to get to all the questions. Well, I'll get to a lot of the questions that were sent in. There were a lot of them. And to some of the paintings. I don't want to take too much more time of your time there. So let me bring up the questions here for you. So if you have any questions as well about any of the rest of this stuff, please let me know. And where are we? There we go. All right. So we had, and we kind of grouped the questions because there were several of you that had like-minded questions in here. So we kind of grouped them a little bit. I'll try to, if it sounds familiar to yours, then it's in the grouping of those. All right. So Roberta said, her question was picking a subject and determining the best composition and layout. That's one of those age-old, there's a fellow I just heard about, what was that? I think I mentioned T. Allen Lawson in the videos. He's an artist that I admire. I like his work. And his work, the originals sell somewhere between like 40 and 90,000 or more. They're very expensive paintings. But he was, I remember I either read about it or heard about it on one of the podcasts or something. I don't remember now. But he called up George Carlson, who is a top painter as well. He said, I just don't know where to go with this. He'd been painting for years and years, and I think he was kind of getting stuck. He didn't know how to progress anymore. He just wasn't sure where to go with that. So it doesn't matter what level you're at, beginning in somewhere in between that and being considered a master artist. Even when you get to the master artist stage, it's a continual progression. It's continually difficult to keep on pushing to another level. But it's a joyful one too. And I think that's the thing to keep in mind. So this thing about picking a subject, determining the best composition layout, it doesn't matter what level you're at. That's always complicated. Just knowing, so when I go out what I've tried to do is, for instance, when I go out on location, I love plein air painting, but now when I go out plein air painting, I don't do it so much anymore to try to make sure that I finish a painting while I'm out there. I see the subject in front of me. I want to get that. I've got to make sure that I get all of that in there. Now when I go out, I often might want to just get a branch. Maybe the light is on that branch in a particular way that it's just spectacular. I think, well, what is happening there? I need to figure that out. I need to break down all the elements and see if I can capture that feeling that I got when I first looked at that. So when I do, when I'm out on location, even when I do go out and I feel it progresses to the point where, you know, maybe I'll finish off the painting as much as I can here. See if I can finish the whole thing. I'm not trying to capture everything that's there. There's just no way, and it's not usually going to work out very well if I do. So when I go out, I try to think. I look at the scene in front of me, and then I close my eyes a little bit and think to myself, what was it about that drew me in just now? Why did I stop here and think, hey, there's something to paint? What was it about that I thought was worth painting? And really hone in on the essence of that. What was it that captured my heart, that captured my attention? And focus on that. So it might be the way the light was hitting on everything, just the overall light effect that was there. It might be a particular tree that I thought, wow, that is really interesting, that has so much character and it's all gnarly or whatever. It could be just the overall, I have this feeling when I'm here that's peaceful and calm, or that's exciting and vigorous. You know, I don't know what it might be about that particular spot at that moment. But there's usually, if I look at, so Kwang Ho talked about this, and I thought it was an excellent way to think of that. He said, when you're driving down the road, you're on the interstate, the highway, you're going 50 miles an hour or more, you don't have time to look out and scrutinize all the details of the landscape around you. You get that, boom, it's brief, it's quick. You see that landscape for just that brief moment, and yet something stands out to you, something captures you when you look at it and you think, oh wow, that was really pretty. You didn't have time to look at all the details that were there, but something made you think, oh, I really liked that. That's what I concentrate on. So when you talk about a composition or a layout, that's it. That's your subject. That's your composition. You have to figure out what to put in and what to leave out that's going to give you that brief moment's effect, really. Let's see. And really, that's what you should paint. So it's not, as a professional artist, I mean, some of us, like Clyde Aspavik, he, back in the 90s when I read about him, he was painting over 300 paintings a year and putting over 300 paintings a year into galleries. And yet he is one of the most admired and successful landscape painters in the world. He was also selling all of those paintings, and for prices ranging between $5,000 and $100,000. So you think about that, some of these paintings were 30 by 40, 60 by 70 inches. They were large paintings that he was doing, and he was putting out 300 a year. So when you're doing that year after year for 10 or 20 or 30 years, that can get to where, I suppose, maybe, you could get to the point where you're going out and you think, I've already painted that, I've already painted that. I haven't gotten to that point. I've painted a few thousand paintings, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. Because for me, it's always the next level. It's always something more. I'm always wanting to take my paintings farther, higher, stronger, something. The painter's name, Clyde Aspavik, C-L-Y-D-E Aspevig. Aspevig. It's kind of hard to know when you first hear it. And then some of the others were T. Allen Lawson. So Allen T. And then the Lawson is Lawson, I believe. And then George Carlson was really well known for his sculpture, but has now turned to oil painting again. And people say that they are phenomenal. I haven't seen an original. I really want to go see his originals because supposedly the texture and everything that's going into them is phenomenal. So Carlson, Carlson. If you find the fellow that's well known for his bronze sculptures, like oxen pulling something, or they're very powerful sculptures, Western type sculptures, you'll know you're onto the right guy. Look up the Prix de West. You'll find the Prix de West exhibition is one of the top in the country, and that's where you'll see a lot of these artists as well. So let's see. Now, for me, George Carlson, I can see some of the when I just see images of his work. Because I'm from the West. For the most part, we lived in Montana, Colorado, California, Alaska, Idaho, Utah. We've been in the West mostly, and then we came out here to Indiana. So I used to see all that work all the time. We lived near Santa Fe, and we'd be there constantly. I'd go down to Arizona, out to Texas, up in Montana. That's where Clyde lives, is up in Montana, I think near Billings. And I'd go to all those shows. I had access to the Prix de West, to so many of the different shows out there, and that's where Jackson Hole, Wyoming, all those places. That's what I'm familiar with overall. Now that we're out here in the East Midwest, Indiana, I haven't gotten out there as much, but I'm hoping to do that here soon again. But anyway, that's kind of where all of my knowledge of artists and that are. I am familiar with some of them out here. Daniel Green, Richard Schmid moved to New Hampshire. Where's he at right now? He was in Vermont when I was out there in '99 for a show, and I got to go to a lecture there at that time. And I saw his gallery he had stuff in the gallery there at that time, but I don't remember anymore. So anyway, look up some of those artists. They're very helpful that way. Let's see, David just texted me. Yes, more questions and critiques. My family, David and Christy, are here to keep me on task because I digress. Sorry about that. All right, so let's see. To begin painting. Overworking, that was knowing where to start, knowing when it's finished. And that, Carolyn, is not an easy, that's not an easy one. So, and this one kind of goes along with that. Shahid had creating good value structure in the painting and keeping it until the end. So let me address that one quickly, because there are some good things to work with that. So here in my studio, I have a nice advantage a little bit, because I can get about 20 feet back from my paintings at the farmost part of my studio. So I can get back and really look at the painting overall. You know, I do the same thing when I'm out on location. I walk back and forth. I create a path when I'm out there for a few hours. So because when we're up too close in on a painting, we lose the overall perspective of it. So I'll sit there and I'll get up close on my painting away, and then often, I mean all the time, every few strokes or something, I stop, I step back, I walk back. Generally, I walk back at least 6 or 8 feet. And then when I get to a certain spot in the painting where I've really gotten a lot of the elements in place, then I'll go back 20 feet and look at it. I also keep about 10 feet behind me a mirror, a big mirror on my wall that I look back into, and I look back at that all the time. I've been doing that for years. There are a lot of professional artists I know and that I've heard about that do the same thing. Having a mirror there. So what happens is when we're painting, it's kind of like they've shown this with memory and like a car accident, or you see something, an incident, a bank robbery or whatever. You're there and you see it. If you question 20 people that were eyewitnesses to this, you're going to get 20 different accounts, different details, different accounts. Our brain is excellent at taking what's there, what we see, and then filling in the missing information or things that we might think that we had there before. So the same thing happens when we're painting. We'll be honed in so much on our painting that if there's something that's not working in there, a value's off or whatever, our brain will suddenly fix it, even though we haven't fixed it on our painting. That's why we have to have perspective shifts, perception shifts. We have to something to just snap us out of it. So turning around, looking at it in the mirror, switches that perspective. Stepping way back changes the distance, it changes the perspective. Anything that we can do to cause a disruption there is going to help us then to recognize, oh yeah, I forgot, that's there. Wow, I don't know why that didn't stand out. So that's why sometimes I'll send a painting out to a gallery. It'll have something like that I didn't catch, that Christy didn't catch, and then I'll look at it on the internet or something and I'll think, oh man, how did I miss that? And I'll ask the gallery to send it back to me because I don't want it out there with that whatever problem I think was in there. But generally speaking, between my mirror, stepping way back, and having Christy come in and critique it for me, all of those things help me to keep disrupting my perceptions of it and going that way. So with the good value structure, that's really it. I squint. Richard Schmidt said to squint when you're looking at your, and I use Richard Schmidt a lot because, for one, I love his work. I've been admiring his stuff since it's back in the 80s, but also because he's such a well-known instructor. He's got the book Alla Prima, which if you don't have that, yeah, you need to get it. I know it's, when I first bought it back in the 90s, it was $135, I think. Now I think they have a paperback one for $85 or something, but it is entirely worth it. Whatever you have to pay for it, best art book on the market. But because he's so well known, he's a good one to reference that way. So he'll say, squint when you're trying to figure out the values on your subject when you're out on location or whatever, when you're painting from life. But then open your eyes when you're actually painting. Okay. Well, I actually squint, and I always have when I'm painting as well. Not the whole time I'm painting, but that's how I figure out if I've got some value problems going on. So if I have a lot of, especially when I'm getting all the little subtle things, because it's easy, like with that Aspen painting in the training, when I have that much little subtle stuff everywhere, it's easy to have an early wash in or something like that. I might have had maybe a dark shadow that I washed in with my original washes. I might have a part of that still there coming through all those layers of paint. And if I'm not careful, I might not notice that that's way too dark for where it's at, or it's way too light for where it's at. And that's those disruptions that I have to have so I can see that. And sometimes it's just squinting down and seeing if all the values start to come and hone in as well. That's kind of what I do to keep my value structure going correctly throughout it. And one of the difficulties most beginners and intermediate painters struggle with is timidity. So that thing about not having fear during the training, that's really essential. We can't be afraid. When you're going for it, you have to. So I like contrast. There seems to be some kind of a movement in plein air where people think that there's a certain look that is plein air, a certain grade down, everything's kind of muddled into the middle as far as the values go. I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. Unless somebody's really, really good at that. I like values that really stretch the boundaries of the value scale. I like dark values in there. I like really bright values in there, and values all in between. It can be complicated though to manage all of that. So, but try that. Those different things that way. Okay, let's see. Another one, perspective. Now, perspective, that's when I had a lot of drawing courses early on in my career, and drawing is really important. So, you know, there is a method of painting that Joseph McGurl, so Joseph and then McGurl. Joseph McGurl, fantastic painter. He likes the site size method of painting. So he goes out on location and he'll have like a little cardboard, he'll have a piece of cardboard or something with a square cut out of it to approximate the proportions of his whatever he's painting on. And then he'll set that up so that he sees basically he gets an image of what he wants to do, and he paints it so that it looks exact. If you put the painting in the middle of that, you wouldn't know where the painting was. That's the way he paints on location, basically. He gets the values, the colors, the structure, everything looks exactly like what he's seeing when he's out there. Now, I'm not a fan of that because I'm not interested in capturing every detail and the exact look of what's there. But it is a very beneficial way of painting when you're trying to learn how to draw and judge distances and values and perspective and all of that. So that might be a good way to do things because you can tell right off if you're getting it correct. So look up Joseph McGurl and the site size method, and that might be very helpful for that. Otherwise, drawing all the time. Wherever you go, take a sketch pad and just keep practicing, like take buildings, just keep drawing them and it won't really take that long. Within a year or two, depending on how often you get to draw and paint, you'll progress quickly with that. It's really a matter of doing it often. That's the way it is with all of it, painting or drawing. Let's see, I got another text, so next. Oh, good job, Chris, thank you. Texture, I love texture. So I tried a combination of a couple different things. I will sometimes actually quite often, I'll put texture on my panel. I make my own painting panels, and I use acrylic gesso. I've been doing that since the 90s, and I love working on that. But I used to use lead ground and oil paint primers, but now I like the acrylic gesso, acrylic primer, because it's fast. There's no toxic fumes or any of that. So I'll take one of my big bristle brushes, and I use the bristle brushes to get some texture back into the gesso or the primer as I apply it. So I'll put down my first coat, and then I take a second thicker coat or a third thicker coat, and that thicker coat is when I put the texture in there. And I try to make it so there are no visible patterns in the brush texture that I'm putting in there. That way it will look natural when I'm painting on it. I won't have anything that messes up the flow in the painting. But that really adds a lot of visual interest in there. And then when I'm actually painting, even if I have a smooth board that doesn't have texture in the ground, I'll use different techniques like dry brushing. I do a lot of that, where once I've got my initial washes down and my initial layers of paint, then I might take my brush and I'll have some videos eventually with some short videos that I'm planning to do for YouTube, where I'll kind of go over just like in 2 or 3 minutes, some things like that, some different techniques for brush work and that. But basically, it's I apply the paint so that when I'm dragging it across the panel, I'm letting the texture, whatever tooth is on the panel, just kind of barely grab a hold of that paint and pull it off. So really what it's doing is it's getting all those individual bristles, just to paint from those individual bristles. So it's a broken brushstroke. It's not a solid opaque line of paint to do that. And that's some of the ways that I get texture in there. There are a lot of different ways to do it. Sandpaper, sticks, just anything that you can use. Experiment with a lot of different things. Oh, okay, so I think we might have gotten through, because I have some painting critiques to do, and I don't want to take your whole afternoon here. So let's see. Yeah, I better close up with that. So I'll try to answer more questions with. I'll use a lot of these questions that are here to make some short videos for YouTube as well. Those are going to be very helpful for that. So thank you for sending those in. So now I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to bring up some paintings on Photoshop and do a few critiques for you on here. And I'll probably, with each painting, just take and point out maybe one thing that might be helpful for you with it, just so that we can get through all of them. Give me just a second. Almost there. And I don't know if I can get through all of these, but I'll get through as many as I can. All right, so now I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see this. There it is. All right, so can all of you see that all right? Okay, so I don't know, I didn't get the names put on here, so I don't necessarily know your name unless it's on there. So I won't be calling you by name, sorry about that. Oh, that's beautiful. That's really nice. It's got a lot of characteristics that I'd see in like a Kwang Ho or who else is that reminiscent of? But I like that. That's beautiful. Let's see. What would I? Now remember, when I'm critiquing, there really are no rules in art. There are great principles, and there are some. Oh, that's a good idea, David. Yeah, there are principles that can help guide us in paintings, but there are no rules. We break the rules all the time, what people call the rules. So if someone tells you this is the way it has to be done, stop listening to them. They don't know what they're talking about, and their work's probably boring and not very good. So, and even if you do consider it good, I stop listening to them anyway, because that's just going to stunt your growth. So remember that with everything that I say when I'm critiquing a painting, these are just some helpful suggestions, things that you might be able to do. With my own work, I have to experiment constantly with each painting that I do with different areas in it until I bring out those things that really make it sing. And sometimes there'll be an area that I have to do over and over again until I get it right. So these suggestions that I'm going to give, they're just that. They're just to help with that. Minus the water lily and footprints. All right, I'll get to that, Wendy. Yes, definitely. Okay, so in this one, one thing that I see right away is this peach back here. I know it's back behind, and that's great. You have it hidden back there, and I like having that hidden. But what you've got is this one, this one, this one, and this one are all pretty much the same distance apart. So maybe taking that one with the same kind of idea of hiding it a little bit, maybe shifting it over just a bit somewhere. I like having the flow that you have through the painting, so I don't want to disrupt that. And it might be maybe taking this one and changing the location of that one might help with that. Let's see, and usually I use some tools to try to do some stuff on here, but that takes too long, and I won't be able to get through enough of this for you. So I'll try to do that on another occasion with Photoshop. to, you know, to show you what that would actually do. But if you can take any of you that have a photo, something like Photoshop or any other program that might work like that for you, try that. Take your painting. I don't actually do that with my own work very often because I've been doing it so long. I'm so used to experimenting right on my painting. I don't do that, but it's a great tool to use for artists today to do that. Take a photo of your painting, put it into Photoshop, and then like take and just make that vanish in Photoshop. Then you'll know whether or not that's going to help in reality. And then maybe I would love to see, even though I know this is the primary center of interest, I'd love to see, you know what, I'm even going to try that real quick. Some maybe some bright, a little bit brighter, just a touch. I mean, it doesn't have to be a lot either. It could be very subtle, very small, maybe just a thin line, and then take your brush, a dry brush, and work back over. Just kind of brush the line through it after you place the paint down, so that it softens that line, softens that edge, but maybe just a little bit more something right there to pop a leaf forward, to bring out some of those, maybe, you know, just here and there a little bit. Probably not that one so much. That one I would want to have a lot more subtle than that. But like this one right here, to really help emphasize that this leaf is coming in front of that peach, maybe just a small, thin, subtle line on the end of that leaf right there. And use those highlights like that to lead the viewer through the painting and then back up again into here. So I love this, that you have this leaf coming and pointing back up in there. So maybe something right there, a little bit bright, to bring the viewer's attention to that, so that, and then maybe something like right here, just a little bit maybe, to help pull that back up towards this again, so that the viewer keeps moving around and around through the painting. It's little things like that, those little tiny touches, that can dramatically increase the naturalism and the dynamic movement through a painting. And they don't have to be dramatic. They can be very subtle little shifts. So let's see here, the water lily. Is it named water lily, or let me look. So this one right here, this must be Wendy's. Water lilies in the footbridge. Oh, that's beautiful. And you did an excellent job with the reflection of that bridge down in here. Very nice. You've got some great, you've blurred it out, so to speak, very well that way. So, and if I go silent, it's because I'm analyzing the different areas in it. There's nothing, just like with painting, there's nothing easy about critiquing someone else's painting either. It's, well, let's see, bring that maybe to 60%, or that might work. So, in critique, I'm used to critiquing something with a paintbrush and paint in my hand. it's a lot easier for me that way. With Photoshop like this, it's a little more problematic. So I love this right here. This bush has a very natural feeling to it. Great shadow and light structure in here. Now, I think one of the things I'm struggling with is that much of, just a little bit, is that, okay, so like over here, you got these colors in here, that the bluish greens and these colors that are different from up here, but a lot of the water lilies and all of this in here are the same kind of colors and values that you have in the rest of the painting up here. So it makes it difficult for me to know except for the blue bridge. The blue bridge becomes the dominant focal point in the painting. But everything else becomes a lot the same for me. I don't know what to look at because it's all kind of the same. So I'm constantly brought right back to this and have a harder time coming out into this area. So taking and maybe changing some of the tones somewhere. Let's see, water lilies. Let me see if I can bring up an example real quick for you that might be helpful. Yeah, I know where to get that. Okay, so I have, and it's not at all like yours here, but it might give you an idea of of what I'm talking about a little bit. Let's see, is that right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is a piece I did a while back. So, so like with yours, you have an overall tone that of the greens and the bluish greens and the more yellow greens that are in there, and that's beautiful. It's nice to have that same kind of color harmony throughout the painting. So in this one, you can see I have kind of the yellowish greens. It's really a muted painting, much more so than I normally do. But there are different areas where those colors, even if there's similarities in them, they're separate from one another. So I can kind of distinguish the different planes or spaces in the painting. So like in here, you've got the water lilies that are the center of interest. And I tried to get different shadow patterns and things and of light and shadow in here to differentiate those lilies. But I also have then other areas where they're a little bit more, like this would be more reddish browns. It still has the same feeling of the yellow grasses in there, but it's a little bit different tone, different value. So it becomes a resting point for the eye. And that leaves this area to mostly peruse, to look at, but I have different things that point to the other areas in the painting. So like this piece of grass here will point to this area. These point to some of the other areas. This branch brings us back down with these bright little leaves right here that are coming off of it, down to the water lilies again. Does that make sense? So maybe just finding some spots in here where you can kind of change the tone or the value, the color tone or the value a little bit so that it gives you some areas of separation. Does that work, Wendy? Okay, so Karen, does it say Karen on it? That one says Sam. Tell me when I get to yours, Karen, which, you know what's on that, like, Wendy. Okay, Karen, I don't know which image is yours because it's not listed with your name up here. So if you can just kind of tell me, this one is image 1, and then we have full-size render, is what that says. This one also says image 1, but it's that's very colorful. Beautiful colors in there. Here's an image 1 as well. A very nice, serene scene with cats. So you could say something like that. This is the one, the cats. Because there's a 30-second delay between me and you. So that makes it a little bit complicated. The cats or the colorful? Okay, I'm going to go with the cats for now, because I think that's the one. Description, Karen. Something. Oh, wait. No, let's see. Did it say? Sorry, I don't know what that means. Description, Karen. I don't have that one here. I don't know what that means, description, Karen. I think she clicked when the color was up. So the more colorful one, I think it's the sky landscape. Oh, that's getting great. I don't know which one's which. So this one right here, Karen? Skyland. Okay, right here. All right, excellent. Okay, beautiful. I love the drama that you have in the sky here. And then you've got the night. You really have the idea of leading the viewer back with your water right here. So excellent. Okay, so what I would do, here's a couple things that might be, so take the things that I talked about with Wendy's, those separation, I think that was Wendy, with the water lilies, the separation that we were talking about. And then, because that's what you have here too, the same, a lot of the colors and things are quite a bit the same throughout the painting here. These you have a little bit more of the darks in here with this, but if you squint down, the overall tone and color range is kind of the same no matter where you are. This should feel like it's a lot closer to us, and that should feel like it's getting a lot farther away. So like if I take, let's see, let's pull this down. I'm just gonna, oh, actually, you know what? I'll grab the color in your sky over here a little bit, use some of that. And put down the opacity. Okay, so if we take like these trees back here, let's say, and it doesn't have to be all of them, it might just be an area of them, and we just kind of tone them down some. Do you see how that suddenly, some of those feel like they're going way back, much farther away from us than they were before? So breaking up some spaces like that with atmosphere, just taking even just your sky color. So you might take like some walnut oil and a little bit of pigment and try some dry brushing. Don't get it real soupy. Just dry brush gently over some of that and see what that does to break up some of that. And then I like to take that and break up. So when I have a line of trees like this, you've got some of it in here, but I like to take areas and disrupt the line that's going across there. Actually, let me get your sky color here. So just kind of break up a line there. So you have more spaces, more, so maybe like in this area here. Break that up a little bit. And pull in a few sky holes here and there just to kind of break that pattern up. Same thing back in this area. So you know, you don't necessarily have a line going straight across that. You might break that up a little bit, just like that. And then suddenly you start to really have that distance in there. Now this line right here, it can lead you in, but it can also take you right off the edge of the painting. So I love this right here. Maybe pulling some of that in a little bit towards your plants right here will help lead the viewer back into this area. And then take some of what you have here, like let me grab a bright spot, and maybe pull a few, oh, that's too thick. Too thick. Maybe pull in a few bright and not enough opacity. I keep getting into it and then nothing. Okay, so maybe pull out some areas here that will help to separate and not necessarily like I'm doing here. So don't think that I want you to put in those awkward looking strokes like that. But think about that with a brush, a dry brush. What you might be able to do. Let's see, I'll get some of this darker and kind of tone that down a little bit. But really coming in with something that will separate some of these areas here, and then take out maybe an area like this, and maybe pull the water into, oh, well, that was not what I expected. Pull that water down into this other area here. Like it starts to come back into some of this back in here and lead you back into these areas. And then you can take these grasses and make them so that they feel like they're popping up over some of this. Too thick, sorry. You know, just with a space here and there. And that will help then to start putting those back behind and bring up some of the foliage that you have right here. that way. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh, and then Sarah, blue flowers on hill. Let me look for that. Aha, right here. Gotcha. Those are a lot of fun. Yeah, very pretty. And I love all the different colors and tones in here. So, so you're going a very different direction with yours than the style of painting that I do. So I'll try to go with that in mind, because I love the soft, very serene quality that you have and with the colors that you have here. Okay, so first off, this is really, here, let me get that a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. There, hopefully, so this right here is really what I consider the focal area of the piece. But your sky and your land, there's such a contrast there that we're going to be dramatically pulled in that direction. And then when we get there, you have this really strong line going across there, which also, when you have anything that significant, like a line, especially a diagonal line like that, it's going to immediately demand attention. Look at me. So when you have that combination of that diagonal line and the contrast, the very strong contrast between your foreground and your sky, that's telling the viewer that that's where you want them to look, rather than at all the beautiful flowers that you have over here. So one of the ways to combat that a bit would be to, you might, and this is going to take experimentation. This is not this is what you have to do kind of thing. Just experiment with it. But start leading the viewer away from that brightness over into these by maybe taking and making some of these areas bright, a little bit brighter as well, here on the edges of your flowers. And that is very thick. That's not what I expect, but let me reduce that down. But that kind of an idea. Maybe just out on it might even be subtle, right out on the very fringes of those flowers. But that's going to help to lead you back over here to these. So you got to get that same kind of contrast happening in the middle of your area. But in a much more beautiful way, the way that you did these, than what I did with Photoshop. Let's see. And maybe, okay, another reason we want to pull and look over in this area is this really beautiful tone right there, that color. So if you could maybe pull some of that rich orange, I'm going to grab some of that. And even pull a little bit of that maybe into some of your flowers here. Not dramatically, not like that, but in a subtle way, because those blues and oranges are complementary. Complementary colors always work well together. So a principle is, in nature, it's always going to happen. If you see a tree and it's green, there's going to be red there. If you see a purple flower, there's going to be yellow there somewhere. The mind demands the complement to a color to be there. And it's going to be there. We just don't always recognize it when we're looking out there. So you can use, like I'll do a red rose and I might use a bright green highlight on the edge of a red rose. I'll do yellow flowers, and then I'll put lavenders in the shadow areas of those flowers. So if you can take some of that orange and kind of find a way to take some of that and put it into some of these flowers, you're going to help to pull the viewer back over here a lot. Any things like that you can do to help pull back over into this area right here is going to help. Otherwise, it has a very nice, beautiful feeling to it. Okay, so Chris, missed a bunch because I watched the entire replay, but then I got anything after that until I went to my email. Good. Yeah, And there will be, Chris, there'll be a replay of this. There's going to be 2 replays now because I hit the wrong button when I did the first one. I tried to take it off of screen share to come back and be able to talk to you, and I hit stop presentation, and it closed out the broadcast. So I blew that. Sorry about that. Okay, so then, all right. It is now 4:48. We've been going for almost 2.5 hours. Let me see. What else do I have up on here? Beautiful. I mean, this is really a nice looking scene here. Very serene. And I like that you have the brightest color here where you really want that viewer to look at the cats that are there. The VIPs, right? And I like the little burst of color over here with the flowers as well. So you can take a lot of the same principles that we just addressed and pull those into here. So part of what we've got that might be helpful to enhance would be your values. So, and it might be the photo. Sometimes it's the photo, but right now, the way this scene is, I have a little bit of trouble knowing what's going on with the light, exactly the light source. So this is very illuminated, your chair, and you have this bright illumination here on the porch, but you have all this dark right here that makes me think that either there's a tree here that's creating, or trees that are creating this shadow that's falling on there, or something else is creating a shadow. And it's very helpful often to have this, to have the lower portion of a painting dark like that, to have it shadow, because it helps to lead into the bright parts of the painting. It helps to lead the viewer into the painting. So that can be a nice foil to use when you're trying to lead the viewer around. But the way that this is done, I'm not quite sure what that is. So it's also making it difficult for me to establish your light and shadow pattern. Where's the light coming from exactly? And so then it makes it more difficult for me to determine where to make things darker and lighter also. Let's see, I'm getting a message here. So wrap, okay. So I would maybe darken the shadows under here. Maybe pull in some subtle highlights along here and throughout here that can help pull the viewer to this area, even though you don't need to pull the viewer much into here. This is so bright that it really needs some of that in some of the other places around in here. Maybe even out here on the porch a little bit, not too bright, but maybe a little bit brighter, and then move that brightness into spots like along here and that lead to your cats. And maybe a fun little thing, turn the light on. Make this where the light's coming from a little bit. It could be a dim one, like just a little bit, but getting some of that yellow glow that you have in here, right up into this light a little bit. If you do it subtly, it could be fun just to pull that out. And I'll do this real quick. And then maybe, that didn't work at all. But maybe, you know, like a glow that comes from the light out here. That sort of thing. Very subtle, not at all like that. But just some fun things that will make it fun for the viewer to go all the way around the painting. Okay, that is all we have time for today. Sorry about that. So remember, with the membership site, for a very short time, well, actually, I think it's for the first 50 people that do that, I think is what my son set up. You can get that at 50% off of what the course is going to be, and that right there, I think that's like 75% off of. Oh, here, you know what? Let me get back so that you can see me here when I'm talking to you. Stop screen sharing. Okay, I'm back. I think that's saving like 75% over buying all those videos individually at the $15. So at $30, people are saving over 50% a year over purchasing all those videos. And that's really the reason I'm doing that. I wanted something where no matter where somebody lives, it's affordable. So for you today, we're even cutting that in half so that you can get it at a hugely substantial savings over what you'd have to get the videos individually. So remember, I'll have a video on there, at least one a month, that'll be on the site, and then at least 4 of those big videos every year. Every 3 months or so is the schedule that I plan to have to get one of those big videos onto that site. And there'll be every brushstroke from start to finish in those paintings. Generally speaking, of the painting and palette. Some of the smaller ones that I'm going to put on there won't have the palette on it because one of my video cameras broke and I didn't know that. So I lost all that palette work. But it'll have every brushstroke of the painting, and I'll go through in detail with the voiceover describing the colors that I'm using and all of that. But it's only a couple of the smaller videos. All of the large videos, it'll be everything. And most of the small videos will be everything. The palette and the painting, you get to see all of it. And then I'll do detailed voiceover. In fact, the original Rose video that I did, I'm going to be updating the voiceover on that in the next couple of months as well. Because that was my first one. That was a learning experience. So I now know a lot of what you're looking for as artists. I'm going to put that into that. So I'll be getting a lot of information packed into each one of those videos for you. All right, so I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really sorry for pushing the wrong button earlier. And I hope to do this again with you soon. So I'll probably be doing a webinar like this every 3 or 4 months and try to, mostly those training videos are designed for the people in the course, but I'll also be trying to do probably some shorter ones, especially for something like this, especially to the public. I'm going to try to do some live ones for YouTube and all that. So keep an eye out for all of those things. This really is just my way of sharing what I've learned in 30 years. Sharing as much as I can in a way that's actually going to be helpful. So if there are things that you think, you know what, I like that, but this would really help me right now, then share that with me. Send me an email, post on Facebook or whatever. And I don't get on Facebook very often. I am not a social media kind of guy. But I do have my wife watching for me when people post messages and comments and things. So I'll try to get on there as often as possible to respond to those. But I'm painting a lot all the time. I have to. And I'm also spending the majority of my time trying to get these videos so that they are excellent, so that they really will be helpful for you. So that's where the majority of my time goes. And taking care of the people who have purchased the course and all of that. We have a private Facebook group that's also part of that membership that's very active, and I'm going to try to be involved in that as much as I can as well. So other than that, email me if you have questions. The chat will probably keep going for a little while after I close out the broadcast. So you can keep chatting in there if you have questions or anything, or if you want to let me know anything that you might need. So I hope you had fun with that. I certainly did. And I will talk to you again soon. Thanks.